John Stoneman.
Alright. And where do you live?
I live in Bountiful on 9th East.
Okay. Can you see the lake from there?
I can.
Can you smell it from there?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Not often.
Not often. Well, do you know what is causing all that smell out there?
Most of the time, it's my humble opinion that it's being caused by rotting vegetation.
Okay. So what do you think, where's that coming from?
Well, when the lake gets bigger, the vegetation grows. And then as the lake shrinks, the vegetation dies.
Okay.
And then it stinks.
Okay. Well, what about the management? Would that have anything to do with it? Like all the stuff that is being dumped in there?
Well, you know, in the 50s, they dumped a lot of stuff in the lake. They don't dump nearly as much as they once did. And when they do dump, what they do is they treat it first. So it's not, there's not as much pollution going into it now as when I was born, for example.
How do you know that? How do you know they're making it better? How is it being treated?
Well, the EPA sort of made a bunch of rules that said this is the stuff you can dump in the water.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the Clean Water Act. It happened under Richard Nixon.
Okay.
And at that time, a lot of the rivers in the United States would burn.
Mm-hmm.
If you threw a match out on them, there was enough junk in the river, they'd actually light on fire.
Yeah.
Those days are over. You can't pollute that way anymore.
Okay. So how would you think they could do it better? I mean, they've improved, as you said, but how would they be able to do it better?
Well, any time that you spend money, it can be better, but you have to balance how much money you're gonna spend with how much money you have.
That's true.
So I think just a long-term perspective is important. You know, you need to, when you have some money, and you need to plan to have some money, then once you do, then you build a better water treatment plant, or you improve the pollution reduction at the chemical plants around the lake, that sort of thing.
Okay, so you said you need money. How would you use that to get to better your pollution? How to fix that?
Well, all of the people that extract minerals from the lake, they all pay a fee. And that fee goes to the government, and sometimes the government uses it to manage the lake. But a lot of times they use it for other stuff. And it's just a battle on, are you gonna spend the money on the lake, or are you gonna spend the money on something else?
Okay. So do you think it's right that they're sending the money to the government? I mean, shouldn't they be taking care of that themselves? The government already has too much money. So.
Well, that's, if not the government, who, I guess, is the question. You know, I'm not for big government or small government, I'm for effective government.
Okay. So what would effective mean?
Effective means that you wouldn't put stuff in there, and if you did, they came and fined you.
Okay. So how would you enforce that? I mean...
There's guys in cars that drive around with guns.
Would they be employed by the government or by the...
Yeah,
the
yeah,
community?
typically they're employed by the government. Although a lot of that kind of stuff, I mean, you could monitor the pollution levels by private companies, which I think is a good thing.
Okay. But monitoring that, who decides how much should go in and how much should not?
The legislature and Congress.
Okay. So, do you think it should be less now, or do you think it's okay now?
Well, right now we're kind of in a financial crisis, so probably, you know, we should minimalist at the moment. But when we're in good times, then we need to set money aside for future, you know, for future use out there.
So you wouldn't just use it all, I mean, you could set some aside, but then you wouldn't just use it all at the same time?
Right. Trust funds, that kind of thing.
Okay. Where is all this money coming from?
Same place. When the economy's good, they pull a lot more minerals out of the lake than when the economy is slow. So, and the fee is based on how much they take out.
Okay. How much, do you know how much that is?
I don't. I don't.
Could you guess? What'd you say?
Oh, hundreds of millions?
Wow. So would that be enough to fix it at a certain point, or would it just be
I believe it
a little by little?
would be. I do. You may have heard of the pumps at the Great Salt Lake when it was flooding.
Yes.
Oh, the pumps actually got paid for with the fees from the people that didn't leave. You know, a bunch of companies were gonna leave if the lake flooded too much and flooded their factories. They were just gonna pull out.
Okay.
So they put in the pumps, and the pumps allowed those companies to stay. And all the money that they've, since the pumps were there, is all because the pumps were there, and then that went into the public coffers.
Okay, so are the other people who live close, or do business close to the lake, do they also profit from the lake, or is it just the one company?
Oh, well, there's a lot of companies that take minerals from the lake, not just one. You know, salt companies, but there's a lot of chemicals in the lake that they can extract from it.
Okay. Well, thank you for
Okay.
talking to me.